Good evening, life science students. Mr. Eaton here, and we are looking at the eve of week 9, which is over the halfway point now, and we're moving into the second half of the semester. And, excuse me, I just wanted to bring a couple of things to your attention this week. Number one, um, most of you have really been working hard on the assignments, and I really appreciate both the quality and the time that you're taking with the answers, particularly in the lesson guides. Some of the questions sound like they are just very quick answers, but they do require searching the text carefully to find the complete answer. And some of the questions sound like short answer when you read them, but they're not. They require a bit of explanation. And a number of you are already doing that, and I appreciate it. And consequently, the quality of your answers is really, really good. Also, your writing for your reflective writing pieces and the two inadvertent blog entries, one for lesson 4 on the Human Genome Project, and the other one in lesson 6, which is a blog entry in lieu of a regular reflective writing for that assignment. There is no reflective writing, it's basically a blog response to the question. Excuse me. The difference between them is that the blogs do not have to be as long as a regular reflective writing piece. A blog, if you have a one-page blog, that's usually plenty. But if you do refer to any kind of material that you've picked up from the internet, you do have to make sure that you cite that in your blog. Remember, when in doubt on any piece of information you have, or any statement or any kind of video clip or soundbite that you've picked up from some other website or some other resource, or maybe an article in a magazine that you're referring to, when you do in your blog even, you do need to cite it and then include a little bibliography or works cited section at the end of it. Also, the term papers coming up and the course project, which is an alternative activity to the term paper. The term paper is well laid out and well described in the lesson materials. If you look through the lesson folders, and I think it's lesson 4 or lesson 3, where the term paper is introduced, and there are some very specific things you must cover in that term paper, and there are some very carefully defined parameters that you have to fulfill in that. If you choose to do the interactive journal for the lessons, please use a little creativity if you choose that as your alternative project. Let it be kind of creative and fun. Use some of the tools if you're in PowerPoint, or if in Apple's Keynote. And the only reason I mentioned Keynote is it does have some transition and some types of text effects that are maybe a little smoother and a little more tight looking than PowerPoint. But PowerPoint has some excellent choices and can be used well also. Or I have mentioned in the official description of the project earlier in the year that you can use iMovie if you have access to it. And it's a very simple activity to do. The idea is, though, that it is to be a little more on the creative side and a little more fun. And if you have specific questions for me about it, please don't hesitate to email me or text me right away. And one thing on the texting, when you text me, please, at the end of your text note, just put a dash in your name. I've had several people text me and haven't included their names. And your name does not automatically show up in a text when you're texting from your phone. So please be sure to include your name when you text me. and that way I know who I'm responding to, and I can keep track if we've texted more than a couple of times. That's about it for this week. Just to remind you of those things, we're on the 9th week, and I do have to say that as a class, as a whole, we're well along. You're doing very well. Several people are approaching lessons 7 and 8 and completing them, and that's great. And don't forget to check in the course questions and issues section of the community posts if you want to get some extra credit and respond to one of the blog entries that are there. Remember, you can find the blog entry, the issue that's being discussed under mine, and then there you'll see responses from other students. And along those lines, I think everything is good. I do want to remind you now to pray for our new president, Pastor Mark, who will be moving into the presidency in December, and he's winding up his duties with his church. But it is it's a time to rejoice because Moody was doing a very intensive search, and there were a lot of prayers. I know the board and the search committee took several opportunities for days of fasting and prayer in this. And I've been praying and praying particularly for president with a vision that would match up with the board, but also would be able to carry us out a little beyond ourselves. And as an institute and as a ministry, be able to really reach us further down the road. So it's a time for rejoicing, a time for praise and thanksgiving. And I hope that all of you are enjoying the fall weather, especially if you're in Chicago. It should be a great time. I'll talk to you more later. Have a great week. And remember, keep any questions coming. If you have any concerns at all, don't hesitate. God bless.